So, a couple of nights ago, I had a dream. It's the kind of dream that lingers with you after you wake up. It was strange and sweet, and somehow it really felt like it mattered, so I'm sharing it here. As you know, probably, I think a lot about how we can live better together in this country, and how we can listen, and how sometimes we don't, and how easy it is, what it actually means for us to belong to one another. So I want to share this dream with you, not because it explains anything about our current reality, but because I think it's a story of hope that we could really use these days. It started when Donald Trump read one of my Omni-Win project Substack articles. He read something about how everyone sees the world differently. Somehow it reached him, somehow it sparked something in him, and somehow he reached out. He said he wanted to understand what I was talking about, and so we met. We met in a cafe by a park with sunlight filtering through the trees, smell of coffee and cut grass. He was curious. He was like a man who had found a puzzle piece that didn't quite fit and was trying to figure out what to do with it. We talked and he listened. He really listened. The way that one does when they're trying to remember something long forgotten. So I told him that every one of us builds our world out of our own unique worldview and stories, and that these worldviews are what help us understand about what's right and wrong, what's safe, what's dangerous, what's possible, and what's impossible. And he nodded, thoughtful, curious. And then we left the cafe and we went on a walk beneath the trees. The sunlight was shifting from gold to green. The wind blew softly like the world was trying to listen to. And as we walked, we talked about the idea of bringing together different storytellers, people who might never be in the same conversation at the same table, but who might somehow create a whole picture of the full truth. And so we decided to give it a try, not a debate, not a summit, just a gathering. We organized a picnic by the river. And I reached out to 9 people, each who brought their own story, and a story of seeing the world. And Donald, because he lets me call him that now, said that he would come to listen. So the first gathering was by a river. We found a stretch of smooth stones where the current slowed just enough for us to hear each other over the water. 11 of us in all, 9 Americans, Donald, who came only to listen, and myself. There weren't speeches or arguments. Each person was given an uninterrupted opportunity to answer one simple prompt. Tell us a story from your life that helps us understand what this country means to you. A farmer went first. In his early 30s, sun-tanned arms, a ball cap that had seen many seasons. My family's worked the same dirt for 100 years, he said. The crops are thinner, the towns are emptier, and sometimes I think the pride left the people. We believe in this country, but now it feels like it stopped believing in us. He was followed by a young student, maybe 19, mixed race, wearing headphones around their neck. I've been hearing the world's been ending ever since I was a kid, they said. I don't see any leaders worth trusting. How should I care about a future if no one else seems to? A veteran, late 70s, silver crew cut, his jacket covered in old patches, spoke next, with a voice that still knew a certainty of command. I signed a blank check for this country. It included my life if needed, and I'll do it again. But it hurts for me to think that people don't even remember what America stands for. And then it turned to a scientist, a black woman in her 40s with careful eyes and hands that kept tracing equations on her knee. When I was 10, I built a telescope out of paper towel tubes. I believe that, and I still believe in human innovation, curiosity, and discovery that these can solve anything. But lately, I wonder if we still believe in our own capacity to understand. Respect for facts seems discretionary. Upspoken economist next. Mid-50s, crisp shirt, gold watch, man who measures comfort in decimals. I built my career like we built this country, on growth and investment and the belief that markets reward those who earn it. But lately, I've been wondering if we're measuring the right things. The stock market's up, but so is anxiety. What if prosperity isn't just profit, but how secure people feel in their lives? And after that, we heard from a religious woman in her 60s, silver hair pulled back, soft southern accent. I used to bake casseroles every Sunday for church. Now half of the pews are empty. We lived our values, virtue and humility and compassion, and I'm afraid we've lost track of those. And then, with a nod, a small business owner spoke up. In his 40s, a slight Middle Eastern accent that's been softened over decades of practice. He has grease on his apron from the cafe that he runs downtown. And he says, I came here with nothing. And we built something. And I still believe in the American dream. And I am proud to be a citizen here now. And I just wish that we could remember that dreams are meant to be shared. And then a school teacher chimed in. She was in her early 30s, freckles, a laugh that shows up before her words, and an optimism that was still unscathed. Every day, my students ask the world what it'll be like when they grow up. And I tell them it depends on each of you. And how well do you learn how to listen? Then the circle closed with an indigenous elder. Wrinkled skin, long gray braid, and eyes like river water. I was raised on stories older than this country, stories that teach us that the land is a relative, not a resource. I've watched rivers dry and forests burn, and still people act like the earth is just dirt beneath their feet. But this land remembers everything, and if we forget to honor it, it will stop holding us. And when she finished, the river went on speaking. And Donald looked at each of them. His eyes softened, wide, almost childlike. That was beautiful, he said quietly. I didn't know that people love this country like this. Thank you. We sat in silence until he whispered, Can we meet again? Let's time. Let's all talk. Next time, let's talk about the future that we all want. And everyone nodded. So a few weeks later, we met again, and this time under a great fallen oak tree. Roots thick as benches, branches reaching wide enough to hold us all. We bought blankets and fruit and thermoses of coffee, and the air smelled like late summer, like something was ending and something was beginning. And we sat among the roots. Some sat in the branches. And then I asked, what's a dream that you have for this country? And the farmer spoke again. I just want my kids to believe their future is still worth working for, he said. I want to feel proud when I see a flag waving over my field again, not angry, not forgotten, just proud. And the students sat cross-legged in the nook of a great branch. I dream of a future that's not collapsing, they said, where people don't roll their eyes when you talk about hope, where we can imagine something better, not to be mocked for it. And the veteran took a long breath, his eyes distant. I dream of a country that remembers its promises. Not perfect, but honorable, where people can stand up for each other the way that we used to. And the scientist smiled softly. I dream of discovery, she said, of investing in curiosity again. I want kids to look through the microscopes and telescopes and believe that they can make a difference, that truth can be found. And the economist leaned back against the roots. I dream of a country where wealth means more than just numbers, where prosperity is measured by shared stability, and success means that we all got a stake in this future. And the religious woman clasped her hands. I dream of grace, she said, of families and neighbors forgiving each other, of a nation that remembers virtue not as rules, but as love and action. And the business owner nodded again. I dream of earning a good life and helping others earn theirs too. I don't need handouts. We just need fairness, a country that rewards honesty and effort. The school teacher looked up through the leaves and she said, I dream of a classroom full of kids who feel safe to be able to imagine their futures, where learning is a joy, not a fear or a toil. And again, the Indigenous elder closed us up. She ran her fingers through over the bark beside her. My dream, she says, I dream of a country that listens to the land like it listens to the people, where we stop treating nature like a backdrop and start seeing it as a partner in our future. Do we know that we belong to one another? And the breeze moved through the branches, scattering like gold dust, and no one filled the silence. Until again, Donald, who'd been quiet again, cleared his throat. He looks up at the leaves and he said softly, You know what? I think that this is what greatness really feels like. And no one laughed. We just sat there looking around the circle for a moment. He seemed almost weightless, like a man who'd been carrying something heavy and he finally was able to set it down. The tree creaked in the wind and the whole country breathed with it. And then I woke up. The sound of the river and the trees were still in my ears and the branches. And I felt fragile. It felt like this dream, this circle, this listening, this care for each other was something that we could forget if I didn't capture it. So I don't know what this means exactly. Maybe it's just a dream about some impossible conversation. But impossible conversations are where the transformation is going to begin. Maybe it's just a reminder that there's a country that we can all imagine and that it's built moment by moment with how we all hear each other, how we all be with each other, how we hold this diversity. Either way, it felt important for me to share it with you because for a little while, even in a dream, we all learned and remembered how to listen again.